Welcome to the Timescales Interviews. I'm Grego, your host. Today we have a very special guest, actor, writer, and producer, the extraordinary Dominic G. Martin. Hi, Dominic. How are you?
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing okay on a somewhat warm for the UK day.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually it turned cold here today. It started warming up last week. It was obvious summer was here, and then all of a sudden today, wham! It's in the 40s Fahrenheit. So a little bit of a surprise this morning. So this interview is being conducted in California and the UK. Am I correct that you're currently located in England?
I am indeed. I am currently in the capital, London,
Okay.
and yeah, I've moved here a few months ago, and yeah, I've been flat sharing with a couple of very good friends of mine, so it was going very well.
Okay. Very
It's been
good.
an interesting adjustment. I used to live in Milton Keynes, uh, but no, now I've come to the big capital.
Okay.
So
Now, where is Milton Keynes compared to London? Is it close?
sort of, it's about 40 minutes on the train going upwards. It's very much, it was made in the 1950s, and it was envisioned as a place for loads of people to commute to London. And so it's evolved since then to become a bit more of a metropolis, but it tries a bit too hard sometimes. I mean, it's a city that is best known for having concrete cows, these little statue concrete cows, and a rather magnificent shopping center, to be fair, but it does think a lot of itself sometimes. It got on its hands and knees and begged to become a city, and they only managed to do it about last year, I think. It had always been a town before then, and honestly, it's just if you, yeah, I will cease on the slander of my hometown for now. Uh, but yeah, it was an interesting transition.
Okay. So, you were in Los Angeles last year and you saw, you probably got to take a peek at our car traffic congestion. Would you say that England is more of a train commute country than what you saw here in California?
Yes, definitely. I get about using trains mostly, and the tube, the underground in London. Whereas in Cali, it was very much a case of you need cars to go anywhere, and I found that out
Mhm.
uh, near enough the hard way because I was taking Ubers everywhere when I was going with friends to into Hollywood, and yeah, it was a bit different to what I'm used to. And I find that fascinating. It's fascinating seeing how these have different inbuilt travel architectures and stuff like that. I It was a bit draining on the finances, but you know what? You gotta expect it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, our family was in Japan for all of March, and
Oh, lovely.
we only used cars just a few times. We went to Mount Fuji, where we could have actually taken a train, but we took a car
Mm.
intentionally just to see some of the countryside and the rural areas. But you can get anywhere in Japan by train, and
Mm.
it makes me wonder why the U.S. infrastructure never included a
Mm.
high-speed train. It's very surprising
Those
to
bullet
me.
trains, isn't it? They
Yeah,
have the
it's called the Shinkansen, and
ah.
it does 200, and I'm sorry for using miles per hour. I still can't
That's
convert in my head because I
that's
was
okay.
raised to use miles per hour instead of kilometers, but it does about
Yeah.
200 miles per hour, and
Hmm.
they're actually working on an upgrade to it because that's not fast enough. the,
Well,
the
not
next
fast enough.
Right, yeah, they want one that goes from Honshu Island to uh up north and to Hokkaido, and they need it to be 230 miles an hour. That way the train is faster from Tokyo than to take a plane. So
Good
that's why
God.
they're doing it. So
Wow,
yeah.
that don't stick your head out of the window at that speed, that's for sure.
Well, you get used to it because after about an hour on the train of being at around 200 miles an hour, you kind of get used to it. I kind of wish they were slower because it's actually hard to see the countryside
Yeah, yeah, because
in a
everything's going by
bullet.
blurs.
Yeah, Yeah. So, okay. Um, Dominic, let's jump right in here and let me ask you, when did you start watching Doctor Who, and do you have a doctor?
So when I first started watching Doctor Who, I was introduced to it by my mum, and about just before the series returned in 2005, by watching a old rerun of one of the final parts of Trial of Time Lord. So my
Mm.
first experience of Doctor Who was with the fantastic Colin Baker,
Hmm.
and I just remember his big speech, Daleks, Sontaras, Cybermen. That was one of my first introductions to Doctor Who, and that always has stuck in my head. And then when the series came back with Christopher Eccleston, I properly got into it full time from then on. And it was so much fun just being able to just get properly immersed in it. So during series one, actually, near enough between that and the ending, I ended up going to my local library and I just binge loaded a load of like classic Who DVDs that are out at the time and just began just watching them one after the other because I was just like, I need more. So I got into the classic series around the same time I did the new series. And yeah, it was a lot. It was just a magnificent experience at the time, especially for my my 11-year-old, probably crazed brain at the time. It just became quickly obsessed. And for in terms of who my doctor is, well, for classics, definitely Tom Baker. Love Tom. His
Hmm.
portrayal was just always iconic to me. I love them all, but Tom stands out to me especially. And for the new series, it's Mr. Capaldi because I love Peter. He's just his incarnation really struck a chord with me, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, I grew up with Eccleston and David primarily, uh, but there's something about Peter's portrayal that captured my early 20s, and I just loved him ever since. So those two would be my doctors. But as I said, I love them all, and I can make time for all of them.
Okay, very good. So Peter Capaldi, he really was pretty much the perfect actor for the role, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
a fan from such a young age, and to ascend to the level of actually being the Doctor
Hmm.
is that's one of those lifetime dreams stories coming true.
Hmm.
It's amazing. So honestly, it's just a really fascinating look at the fandom effect, really, because he was part of that older generation and he worked his way up to actually taking the role, which is just insane. But
Yeah.
at the same time, extremely plausible because he's just such a fantastic actor and he got noticed by the right people, obviously. And so it was almost destiny in a way.
Okay. Very well put. So were you watching Rose live when it aired in 2005?
Ironically, Rose I missed on live broadcast.
Oh,
My first episode was The End of the World because I was
okay.
on holiday at the time with my parents and we just didn't realize it was on. And so we ended up watching that on record. And that's how we ended up like we watched it out of order, really. We watched End of the World, then Unquiet Dead, and then we went back to Rose, and then we went with the rest of the series. So I kind of got into it while it was mid swing, more or less. It
Okay.
was almost out of context, a straight up random doctorate and companion adventure. No idea of how it actually started. I remember my sister, when I watched the End of the World, I believe she gave me a nutshell summary of what happened in Rose, so I wasn't entirely out of the loop. But then I watched it for myself. It's just like, oh wow, you were wrong on a lot of the details here.
So, you have actually produced an audio series, Doctor Who Remnants,
Mm.
in which you performed the architect. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so during lockdown, obviously we'll get onto DW 2012 later,
Okay.
but because of the pandemic, we couldn't do any filming. We couldn't do anything apart from just make little audio shorts. So this, of course, inspired me to do something new audio-wise. Um, I didn't want to do anything that would be linking with the series because we already had concrete plans in place. And so if we did too much, it would just start diluting it. And we didn't want to do that. We did the short tales for DW 2012. And when I did that, it kind of inspired me to do, you know what, I can do a series of my own stuff because I've got some ideas I want to get out on onto the interwebs myself. So it really, in part of the peak of lockdown, I started writing scripts and casting roles for Remnants, which was a new departure for me because I never handled an audio project from scratch for about, it was 6 or 7 episodes for the first series. I never actually done anything of that length before, so I was like, this is exciting, this is stressful, this is gonna be cool if I put it off, but oh god. Fortunately, I had a lot of help from friends who volunteered for roles, who volunteered to write a couple of episodes, and it all kind of fell into place very fortuitously. So I ended up creating the character of the architect to be a framing device. And even he's taken on a bit more of an active role as the series has progressed, because there's much more you can do with a sort of a omnipotent being, kind of like Q from Star Trek. And it was a big inspiration for that sort of method of storytelling. But no, I'm very proud of the work I've managed to do on it. I've recently finished series 2 as well, and it's gone down quite well, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun just experimenting with all these different in this anthology format, because I was inspired by shows like Black Mirror and Inside Number 9 and The Twilight Zone, especially because I love the anthology format, how you can just tell stories of across the universe. It can be anything, absolutely anything you want. And I kind of done that for like things like Star Wars Visions. And but I think if more like franchises did like anthologies just for world building, I think that could be really cool. So that was my whole modus operandi, I guess.
Okay. Interesting. You mentioned Twilight Zone. There's a author, Joseph Lidster, who
Mm.
recently started watching Twilight Zone, and he'll put a little quick review on Twitter, and I find those to be very interesting. Uh, that was Twilight Zone is what I started watching about the same time as watching Doctor Who myself. So
Easy.
yeah, that's very interesting. There's not a huge amount of fans that have made their own audio stories. There are some, but I
Mm.
would say that it's relatively rare because it doesn't seem to be just a easy endeavor uh
Mm.
to make an audio story. What it, you said it was a little stressful at some point. Was it time consuming, or are you talking about editing? Uh,
Oh, all sorts, all forms can be. If things are going well, then it's going great. But if they don't go well, then sometimes you feel like it entirely fall apart. So there, I mean, it's so many different twirling cogs to it, like editing, writing, and then actually just getting like the right actors and everything, and just hoping that they're happy with the script and everything. It's just so many different moving parts in this little train, and hopefully you just get it out there, you get the finished product done, and you're like, you can be proud of it. Fortunately, I haven't had any disasters as of yet, touch wood, but it's been, yeah, it's been a ride to say the least, but it is a challenging thing. There are a fair amount of fans who do try to make their audio own series in either fan films or fan audios, and honestly, I commend them because it is not an easy task, and it is from experience. I know it's not easy, but it's a great way to show that creativity that one has. It's fantastic to actually like put forth your own, what you would consider for the show, to be able to make that idea a reality in a sense. That's how
okay.
I feel about it.
Okay. I could talk to you all day about making a fan audio. That's something that I find really fascinating. But I do have a good number of questions here, so
Yeah.
let me move on to the next thing here. Um, Tell us all about Doctor Who 212. I think that it may perhaps be one of the finest Doctor Who fan films uh, that's ever been made.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Yeah, now DW 2012 is something that is, I guess, one of the things I'm probably better known for, I guess, because I played the Purple Doctor in it,
Right.
and the successor to Luke Newman's Little Red Doctor, who had been going since 2013. He'd been making the series since 2013, and handed over the role to me technically in 2018. If it wasn't for that wretched pandemic, the series would be done by now. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be, but we are finally getting it going. So it has been a fantastic journey. I got the role by him basically. I'm meeting him at a convention, yeah, not specifically a Doctor Who convention, but just a sci-fi convention here in the UK in a city called Birmingham, where the series is filmed. And we got talking and everything, and apparently from the first impressions, he was like, and bear in mind this was like in 2014, he was like, would you like to be the Doctor after me? And I was just like, hell yeah, because
Yeah.
I had already seen part of the series and I was very impressed, because then in 2013, the fan film circle wasn't as big as it is now. uh Obviously you had still had some coming out. I mean, you had things coming out in the 2000s, but I think that it started really kicking into high gear in the 2010s when you see all these different content creators being like really working on fan productions and stuff like that. I think it's really kicked into overdrive nearer to 2020s it's gotten, and more and more people are doing their own fan projects as it is. uh with Luke's, I was just more than happy to be involved because I was always magnificently into acting as a kid. I was in the middle of I was in the middle of a performing arts BTEC at the time, I believe. So I was already doing things like we did a stage dash of Beauty and the Beast, and amongst all these other serious drama stuff, which got quite heavy sometimes, and then performing them. Um, so be given the chance to be a Doctor Who of any sort was something that I very much lavished, because I would never be able to have the capability of putting together a fan film by myself, because I just wouldn't know where to begin at that particular point. Nowadays, I'd have a better idea of where to begin if I was to do something myself, but um, I'm still working very closely with Luke, so there's no real point for me to do something of that ilk when I'm still doing something of that ilk right now. Um, but no, it's been absolutely superb. It's been a hell of a journey. We've still got a little bit more filming to do, and then the series is effectively wrapped in time for the 60th. So it's just the reception to the episode so far has been phenomenal. And I've really been so grateful for everyone who's taken their time out to give it a watch, and who's left a comment and complimented my portrayal or the writing or like everything about the series. And it is just very heartwarming to know that this series is really giving people some entertainment, because that's what we really want to do. That's what I very much just want to entertain people. And to be able to do that is a privilege, I think.
Wow,
So
that's beautiful. Okay, well, I very much enjoy it, and thank you. There are times when I just want something a little bit different. Uh,
mm,
Aside from watching which we've seen all of the television episodes already.
yeah.
But some of the time I do not want to listen to an audio, and I want visual, and I want new Doctor Who. And
Mm,
your the quality is absolutely stunning. The acting by everyone is wonderful. I consider it to be canon. because I think that anything that is produced by
Mm.
fans actually is canon. That's just my way of thinking. And to me, it feels so authentic, yet a part of the enjoyment of it is seeing how much the actors are obviously enjoying doing what they're doing.
Mm.
So I would highly suggest it to anyone. Doctor Who 2012 or I'm sorry, DW 2012.
It used to be known as a Doctor Who 2012. Then we got changed to Dynamic Works 2012 because it just wanted to make it a bit more concise. And no, we made a little joke about the name change in the latest episode because, we don't take ourselves too seriously. Um, but no, thank you so much for just checking it out as well, to you personally
Yeah,
as well. And I'm very, very
my pleasure.
honored that you consider it canon, because we just try to make something as best as we can. And I've seen them, and I just many people enjoy it, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's very much a labor of love from us to the show that we've been watching for the majority of our lives. And if people, it's our tribute, really, and
Mhm.
very happy it's going down well.
Beautiful. Okay. So let's talk about your cosplay.
Aha.
That a lot of us were not able to make it down to the giant convention in LA. But I know that I can't be the only one that I kind of felt like I was there in part because of a lot of your photos that
Mm.
you put on Twitter. There were several people, yourself included, that put a good number of Joshua Pruitt also put a whole bunch of them
Yeah.
on Twitter. And see, by you guys taking your time to do that, I think it made people feel like they were there at the convention. So
Mm.
so tell us a little more about your cosplay. Is it I know you have a good photographer.
Oh my goodness, I have, well, every person I work with who takes pictures of me is very kind and very cool. But no, my cosplay, yeah, I got started on that years ago, back in I want to say 2012 or 2013, around that sort of time, just before the 50th. Because I was inspired a lot by actually going to conventions. I used to be taken by my mum to a local convention called Collectomania, and I saw so many of like these people dressed as all these various characters. Like you had Predators, you had like Terminators, Star Trek officers, and stormtroopers, all that jazz, and so many Jedi, and of course you had the Doctors, and they were doing the companions as well. And I was just like, I want to do that. So my mum knitted me a Tom Baker scarf, uh,
Uh,
and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool! I can start wearing this to conventions, and I wore it in front of like people like Peter Davison, and he made a joke about unraveling it. It was funny. But no, then the older I got, the more I decided to progress. So I ended up putting together the season 12 outfit for Tom. And then that eventually moved on to putting together Doctor outfits like the 10th Doctor, the 11th Doctor. And then I looked more into it and started getting more exact pieces from everywhere on the internet. And then I started, you know what? I've just put all these together. I might as well show people how they can do it as well. So I ended up starting my YouTube channel and
mhm,
doing a load of how to cosplay videos, which people still surprisingly watch to this day.
mhm.
And I'm very grateful that they have managed to help people put together their outfits for the Doctors, because I think it's very cool. And sometimes resources can be not easy to find. Like there's a site called, say, CosDaddy, that kind of operated under download sort of thing, and it took for like people to notice it, for people to actually start being able to take the outfits from it or send in requests to get outfits that they want made. So I just think it's fantastic how the cosplay side of Doctor Who has expanded over the last like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. But there are people out there who like make their own costumes from scratch. And I find that just an incredible talent and something I have barely been able to do. I mean, I've knitted a season 18 Tom Baker scarf, but that's as close as I've been able to do in terms of handmade
Well,
stuff.
wow. You knitted it?
Yes, my
Yeah.
mother showed me how to knit, and I've managed to retain that skill. With
That's
her
awesome.
guidance, with her guidance, I managed to knit the season 18 scarf, and I've kept it safe ever since. And it's definitely one of the pride of my cosplay possessions. Well, is it really a possession if you made it yourself? I don't know, but yeah, you know, it was really cool. It was really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, cosplay is definitely something that has gotten me a lot of friends. I mean, if it wasn't for cosplay, I don't think I would basically know nearly 98% of the social circle that I hang around with outside of my like childhood friends and stuff like that, and work colleagues, etc. It's insane. And probably if I didn't get into cosplay, I wouldn't have got into meeting people who work with like Big Finish or with the actual show, or you know, this is such a set of dominoes. Cosplay has been such the gateway thing that really got me into the fandom, and for that I'll always be in its debt essentially. And being in
Wow.
debt to a hobby is kind of weird, but you know.
That's a very interesting. I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. That's you know, speaking of Big Finish, I'm wondering, did you start working there as a producer, a writer, or an actor first?
I was there as a producer first, a trainee producer.
Okay. Okay.
Then I did writing for the iChameleon short trip. As of yet, I haven't acted in any Big Finish yet, but
Okay.
well, I definitely want to. But just
I
putting
hope
that
I
out there.
hope I hope I didn't just accidentally leak something.
Oh, you didn't leak anything.
Okay.
No, 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 no. Nothing's actually in the works in that regard. That's for sure.
But you would do
Um,
it. You would
I would
act.
100% do it, 100% do it. But the thing is, I'm not a trained actor, and I'm just the acting I do is mainly a hobby for fun. And last thing I want to do is take a job away from an actual, you know, like jobbing actor. I mean, I say I love a job at doing acting and everything, but you know, the thing you learn on the job is that it's all very serious business, and you take it seriously. And last thing I'd ever want to do is take anybody's chances away. Uh, but yeah, that's what DW 2012 was for.
Okay. Wow.
But no,
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting
I
way of putting it. You're really kind. That's, you know, I don't think I've ever heard an actor say that they wanted to leave room for somebody else to be in the position. That's
well, that's the thing though. The people who have worked all their lives to be in that sort of job. And I don't want to be a person who's just sort of turned up out of nowhere and just stolen it from them. That's definitely not what I want. I want to work to uh, earn things I do. And I like to
okay.
think I have worked to earn the producing gig and the other things that I've done, just by just trying to well, make my own stuff and just getting it out there, I guess. So
Okay.
it's something that I feel a degree that I want to be able to have pride of my work, and at the same time, I don't like. I just don't want to get in anybody's way.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you would like to act for Big Finish, hopefully that will happen. You have a really good voice.
Do
So,
my best. Well, thank you.
yeah, yeah. Okay. When your story came out that you wrote, how did it feel when you heard
Mhm.
it for the first time and saw your name on it?
God, that was mental. Yeah, iChameleon. It went down. It went down really well, and I was so nervous because it's like the first time I've ever put anything official out there. Like this is under the Big Finish label. This is a licensed piece written by me. I was like, oh my goodness me, oh my god, oh my lord. But I was so like relieved when it was out there and people enjoyed it. People listened to it. They left such kind words and got such kindness. And such magnificent guidance from John Dorney as well. He is just an amazing man and a real help during the whole process. And it was just amazing to work with him and David Richardson. And I'm just thoroughly grateful for them to be given the opportunity and for it to have actually just gone down so well, because I was really nervous, but I'm just happy that it happened.
Beautiful. You said John Dorney. That's one of my favorite authors, right there. It's sounds like you
So,
were in really good company.
yeah, he is a powerhouse. It just his brain, man. Oh, he's so great. He helped me out so much with the story, helped me with the ideas and guidance. And no, it was no, he's stellar in every sense of the word.
Awesome. Now, you when you wrote the story for Big Finish, did you suggest to anyone that I would like to write for Big Finish, or did you just suddenly get an email
Yeah.
from Nick Briggs one day that says, "Hey, we'd like you to write"? How did that actually go down?
Yeah, I got an email from David Richardson
Oh,
asking, yeah, that if I want to write for the what's it called? It's not short trips, is it? It's interludes. It was the interlude
the
range.
interludes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
For some reason I thought it kept putting short trips, but it's because of the format and everything. But you can't
exactly.
get it confused.
Right.
But
Well, I
no,
think it used to be called the short trip subscriber bonuses, and
yeah,
then it turned
yeah,
into the interludes. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
But no, I got asked, and then I was asked to pitch an idea. I pitched a few ideas, and they really liked the idea of the chameleon one. So that's the one I got started on doing. And yeah, the rest really is history, because that's sort of how I got started on my writing journey with Big Finish. And
Okay.
it was I'm very, very grateful. It's very fun.
Awesome. Okay. So here's kind of an open-ended question.
Mm.
Feel free to run with this one here. What does the art of storytelling mean to you?
That is a very deep question. I think the art of storytelling is it's a very massive thing. It Well, stories have been with me through my life. It's always been I've always been into watching all different kinds of media, and whether it be audio or animation, uh, and of course live action. And everything that has always enthralled me has just been a superbly told story. Like, for example, the original Star Wars. That is like the definition of the hero's journey, and it executes it perfectly. And stories like that has just really stuck with me. And or you can have something a bit more spacefaring, a bit more of a ongoing arc, like Star Trek, the various Star Treks. Like my favorite being the Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, with characters that you can get to know. Really, they almost become part of your lives as well. Like I couldn't imagine a world where I wasn't following the adventures of Jean-Luc Picard, but here we are. And it's all about how it makes you feel and what resonates with you. And there's so many stories out there that just left such an impact. Like, to put a specific example, the Visitor from Star Trek Deep Space Nine is such a beautifully told story about a man who just really wants to save his father. And you break it down to his bare essentials, it's just, it sticks with you for a while. And I love stories that can stick, ones that really make you think, ones that make you feel. That's what I try to go into when I do my own stories. I just try to make something that I feel I would feel from, something that would make me tick. And so I just use what experience I've gotten or things that I like and just try to inform it that way. So I guess the art of storytelling, it's about an emotional connection for me. What how it can really get the brain going.
Okay. Very good. Now, you mentioned Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is
Yeah.
also my favorite Star Trek.
Mm.
I think I'm a little older than you are. I I remember watching the original series, and I had seen.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I'd memorized the dialogue of all of them because I'd seen all of them so many times. Which is why I got into Doctor Who, because I
mm.
was looking for something else,
Yeah.
sci-fi. Once I discovered I liked sci-fi, but have you ever watched Voyager?
Yes.
Okay.
I really, I'd say I do enjoy Voyager. I really do
Okay.
enjoy Voyager. I mean,
Okay.
I love the original series as well. My mum really brought me into that. I remember um, we ended up watching every lunchtime because she homeschooled me for a significant amount of years in my life. And every lunchtime, without fail, we would watch an episode from Star Trek, the original series. And whether it be, I remember her favorites was Mirror Mirror, City on the Edge of Forever, ones that I very much love as well. My favorites being like the Doomsday Machine or the Immunity
Mm.
Syndrome. Um, I it was just the Star Trek has had a massive part in my life. But yeah, I think I've slightly digressed from your question. I went
Well,
back in time.
yeah, the what I was going to mention is that I think that the character development in
Mhm.
Voyager um is superior to that of the Next Generation. And the character
Mm.
development in the Next Generation was already really good.
Mm.
But I was wondering if you had seen Voyager, because I had gone for I guess decades without ever watching Voyager, and I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah, there was something about it that I think what it is the makeup,
Ah,
the facial makeup, and the to me the aliens, it took a while for them to sink in, for them to become
yeah,
believable to me, because the alien makeup and prosthetics was way beyond the Next Generation.
yeah.
But my wife was telling me, I can't believe that you've never watched Voyager, because it's just as good as the Next Generation. And when she said that, I thought, okay, well, then I guess I've missed something here. And we absolutely loved it. We binge
Mm.
watched the whole thing last year. And so that's
Amazing.
why I'm trying to suggest to others that mentioned that they
Yeah.
like the Next Generation to really take a good look at Voyager, because you may find something you really love that you didn't know about. That's uh, what happened with me. So all
No,
right.
I
Well, you know
agree.
what? Now I have really gotten off topic here. Sorry about that.
That's all
Um,
right.
okay, so you mentioned that your mom homeschooled you for a while, and
Yeah.
this kind of ties in with this next question I have. Going back to when you were younger in your school days, uh, did you have an interest in arts or performing arts, or storytelling or comics by any
Yeah.
chance?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I had a massive interest when I was younger. Well, I still do now. But it really started when I was younger, and I always loved comics. I remember just binge reading Spider-Man comics because they used to do this compilation comic in the UK called The Astonishing Spider-Man, I believe. Uh, that basically had a load of the stories that were in the US roughly at the time. So like from the Amazing Spider-Man comics or Spectacular Spider-Man comics. Uh, and I just really love just that side of the Marvel universe. Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. And then progressing from that, I got into more manga as well, as I'm a big anime and manga fan. So got into the Yu-Gi-Oh mangas because I used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. And you just see all these different, like, yeah, it was amazing. It's just so cool. So I'd always had an interest in that sort of field. And performing, always loved performing. Didn't really get much of an opportunity, but I was always like acting out scenes to myself when I was younger and just really just quoting stuff, all that jazz. And then eventually I did a performing arts course, and it turned out I was actually, I can do this. I think I can do it. And it just kind of went from there. But it was my mum that really nurtured my abilities and nurtured my talents and encouraged me to take part in things and got me into Amdram Theatre at one stage. And she really did a fantastic job on just really helping me become the person I am today. And so everything that I'm into, I really owe to her.
Okay, interesting. Now that actually ties in with the next question I have for you here, but let me tell you something so I don't forget.
Hmm.
I know of somewhere in the world that you need to visit.
Really?
And yes, it is the manga and cosplay capital of the world. It is Akihabara, Tokyo.
Mm.
You would absolutely love Akihabara, Tokyo. So put that on your
Oh,
bucket list.
yeah. No, I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Tokyo. I want to see all the sights. Ah, it's on the bucket list. It's
Okay.
absolutely something I want to do. So one day, hopefully.
Okay, awesome. Now, my next question was, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it out here. Did you
Mhm.
have any mentors, people around you that supported your talents and your creative decisions? And I believe your answer to that is yes.
Yeah, my mum,
Okay, your mom.
100%. She was
Okay,
a fantastic influence on my creative life and just helping me become, as I said, who I am today, and doing all sorts of, she bent over backwards to just make sure I had the same opportunities that the kids that were, I guess, properly schooled did, because I wasn't able to be properly schooled because I had a series of problems that happened in my first school experience that meant I had to be taken out. So she took me onto her wing herself and decided, you know what, I'll do it myself. And which is something that it was something that must have been such a challenge for her. But every morning she formulated it in a school way, from like 9 till 3, I would do maths, English, science, and break for lunch, and then eventually for dinner. And I would do practice papers and stuff like that. She prepped me for my GCSEs and everything. So this went on since I was about 7 to when I was about uh, 14, 15. So a massive chunk of my life was spent with her, teaching me everything and mentoring me through my formative years. So that, yeah, that would be the answer.
okay,
It was
uh,
mainly my mum.
okay, very good. Um, I wanted to touch on something here for a final time on your audio and video productions. With people that I have interviewed in the past in part of
Mhm.
this interview series, which is intended to be educational
Yeah.
and intended to study shared traits of people in the arts and performing arts,
Mm.
um, I have found something unexpected that every single person has in common, and it's something called rejection, where you are working on something only to be told no, such
Mm.
as let's say you audition for a stage play
Yeah.
and they give it to someone else, or you have written the best book that the world needs to see,
Mm.
and you may not have interest by a publisher, things like that. Apparently, everything uh, is not. Apparently, there's not a Midas touch
Mm.
in arts and performing arts where everything
Yeah.
that you touch turns to gold. So what I'm wondering, um, have what kind of challenges have you met in producing audio and video drama?
Well, I mean, as you say, rejection, it happens. It is a common part of like working in either the industry or even in just fan stuff as well. Like you, of course, you'll have sometimes you'll just be like, no, actually, this script isn't that good. Times like that. Or you have someone that you really want for a role and they just say no. That happens. But it's all about just trying to pick yourself back up and just moving on and making a plan B and not putting all your eggs in one basket. That's something I've learned the hard way uh, over the years. But no, I think one of the problems for me is just I can sometimes get a bit overly stressed, but that has been taken many years to try and get under control. And even now, I still get fidgety. I still get very het up sometimes. But I'm working on it. Um, it's one of those things that you just gotta work on yourself with. But sometimes the challenges will be external, and when they're external, you can't really do anything about them. And so the best you can do is just work with the problems rather than succumb to defeat.
Okay. Very interesting. Always have a plan B and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Those
Yeah.
sound advice there. Okay, so I had asked you for an hour and we're getting close to that. So I have just a couple of other questions here. We're getting near the end.
Hmm.
And this one here is the last broad open-ended question,
Okay.
which I think you'll have fun with this one. Who is Dominic G. Martin? Who are
Mm.
you and where do you come from?
Ooh, that is open ended, isn't it?
There you go.
I mean, okay, I like to consider myself a bit of an well, producer, writer, actor, but also I just like to be. I just try to be. Just trying to sum myself up. I never really. I looked at that when I was reading through the questions out. I was just like, sure, I can come up with a decent answer. Oh wait, hang on a second. This is the point where you wonder, huh? Who am I? No, I like to consider myself as just someone that people feel like they can approach for advice or anything, or just try to be a friend, really. I like being friends with people. And I just, one of my main things about being in this fandom is that I just like making friends and being friends with friendly people. And I like being creative. I guess my modus operandi is that I like being creative and I like working on creative projects, doing cool things. And I think that I just really, I think it's just creativity. That is what I can really just try to sum myself up with. It's just a guy who likes to be creative, doing various things, sometimes being Doctor Who related, sometimes not Doctor Who related, but often around that particular circle. It's where I've ended up. So it's going to be, yeah, it's fun. No,
Create.
I
Okay.
am. I'm a creative guy, and I like working with creatives. Like,
Okay.
just it's a very dull way to put me, isn't it? But
No,
I
no, that's actually that you nailed it. That's a really good way of putting it. And I guess there was the film that came out, Doctor Who Am I? And
yeah.
the trailer for that even says every one of us must ask at one point, who am I?
Mm,
Or something like that.
yeah.
Uh that so okay, what about hobbies? Do you
Hmm.
do you have any secret hobbies that nobody knows about, like skydiving or stamp collecting?
I'm too scared for skydiving. I went on a
Okay.
roller coaster the other day and nearly was sick, so I would not be able to handle throwing myself out of a plane. For hobbies, I mean, hmm, I I mean, one of the things I'm interested in is television idents. I love studying and watching television idents. That's one of the very niche, geeky things that I do. So, like old idents from like BBC Two, um, or like all sorts, really, just how they're made, how they went out, how they're received, and how they can be a product of the time of each of the stations. And that is something I find myself deeply interested in because they're little time machines in a way. They just tell you about uh, how the how the world was in terms of his graphic design or the technology used to make him. It's just I find that sort of thing extraordinarily fascinating. People aren't sure what I mean. For clarity, the idents are usually the bits just before a program begins, like where you have a graphic showing the channel logo, and then
Okay.
the
Okay, gotcha. So idents.
yeah.
At first I thought you'd said items, and I was thinking, are you talking
No, no,
about
no.
memorabilia? Yeah, you're talking about the idents, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we have those here as well. And,
Mm,
and I was always interested in the PBS idents,
mm,
because PBS actually broadcast Doctor Who, and some of the
yeah.
time fans would trade tapes, and those idents is how you could tell where the broadcast had been recorded. Um, so uh, go ahead and go on about the idents. When did you first start getting interested in them? I see what you
Mm,
mean about them having cultural significance like that due to
mm.
their time.
Yeah. So I got interested in when I was very young. I remember there was this particular VHS tape of Pingu, the very old, well, not too old, sort of claymation penguin cartoon. And there was always this jingle that always haunted and stuck with me, uh, for the BBC, that was used between the years of 1990 and 1997, and it had the BBC logo of that era, and it had this very weird tune. It was da 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 da, and it was
Oh,
very,
that's right.
yeah.
That's
And I
right.
was extremely fascinated with it because it just left. It was weird because I was like a kid at the time. I was like, whoa, that's a 7-second experience.
Hmm.
And so as I got older, got more and more interested in how the design process works for that sort of thing, how they're made, and like for the BBC back in BBC One, roughly the change of the logo, turn of the millennium, they had the hot air balloon as well, which went about the country uh, to represent the BBC across the world. And I found that fascinating. And then, of course, you have the various ones from Channel 4, yeah, Channel 4, that had so many different art styles and so many different creative elements to them. Um, and all done to I believe the tune was called Fourscore. Um, but all that fascinated me because, and MTV as well. MTV had
Hmm.
some magnificent idents,
Hmm.
and all of the art direction. It was all so fascinating because you get all these various people who work on them, very talented people who make them into like little shorts of their own. And it's just immensely fascinating, immensely entertaining to just see those little cultural pieces that show what television was like and what the trends were and what fascinated people and how these TV networks try to one up each other and try to keep on top. I just find them so fascinating and aesthetically pleasing. They're always fun to
Okay.
just tune into. Yeah, I hope that
Right.
sums it up.
Yeah, that's very interesting. The now the one that you just voiced, the one that goes da 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 da
Mm,
da da da, wasn't
yeah.
that one at the end of all of the Tom Baker episodes?
On the
Or
VHSs, it would be.
okay,
Uh,
yeah. Okay.
yeah, on the beginning of any VHS that was released between 1990 and
Oh,
1997.
that's okay. Okay.
And yeah, so
So that one wasn't broadcast on TV. That was just on the VHS. Okay.
specifically VHS, introduction to the VHS.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be very much with the, I guess, any classic Who VHS that was released within those years.
Okay. That ident is kind of magical. It's amazing what they did in just 7 seconds there. Okay, so we are at the hour here, and I have, let me see. It looks like just 4 or 5 more questions. Do you want to go into the rest
Yeah,
of them, or
can speak through them
that's
if you
okay?
need. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't need to. I don't want to keep you
Oh,
longer than what
hey, no,
I
no,
asked
I'm
for.
here. I can
Okay,
I can
awesome.
stay.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. This is
No worries.
really, really interesting and fun, Dominic. Thank you
Sure.
so much. Okay, so we got past the broad open-ended questions, got past hobbies. Here's a interesting one. Do you consider yourself to be a YouTuber, or is YouTube just a means to an end?
Well, I do. I did YouTube a lot more back when I was younger than I do now because I mean now I just do more creative stuff like the Fran projects. I mean I used to do the cosplay stuff and then I ran out of doctors to actually to actually make videos about. But that will always be there. I'll always be making cosplay videos for each and everyone. So I'm a part-time YouTuber. I come
Okay.
back when I need,
Okay.
and I just do it because if it helps people, then I will make the videos that I think will help people. I'm not interested in making videos and sharing my opinions because as far as I'm concerned, people have opinions all the time, and there are countless people who probably express the same opinion I have better. So I just
Okay.
like, you know what? I'll leave the professional people to do that, and I'll just do my little thing, and that is talking about costumes.
Okay. Very interesting way of putting it. That's made me realize that's probably kind of why I don't really care to write reviews on things, because if I try to write a review, I'm always thinking in the back of my head, how is this going to be helpful to anybody? Because they may not be interested in the same things that I am.
Yeah.
So,
Everyone looks for something different.
right. Okay, so it's interesting that you like to teach people, because this interview series is intended for people to be able to learn from it. And so considering that, let's say in the future, somebody young or old comes and looks at this video because they want to do something as successfully as you have. Let's say they want to make a fan film. Okay, that's a really good example. And in poking into this interview for any inspiration or anything that they can learn from you, what is the best piece of advice that you could give them?
Best thing I can suggest is to try and be practical. Try things. Make sure you try, even if you fail. But every experience is a learning experience, and you will, no matter how something goes on your first attempt, you will learn from it. Like I feel like my first attempt at doing a fan audio stuff, like with the first ever like incarnation of Remnants, I wasn't happy with it. So I decided to reset the whole thing, try again from the scratch. And I made it better because I learned how to properly mix things. I learned how to like different ways of writing. And the thing is, the more you do something, it is true. It's obvious stuff to say, I know, but the more you do something, the better you will get at it. The more you take on board critique and stuff like that, you will improve as a creative. So never be disheartened by criticism, and never be disheartened if something doesn't go the way you want it to, because everything is an experience, everything is learning. You will never stop learning, no matter how far you go. Because I mean, each time I make a new episode of DDO 2012, I'm learning what works with my acting style, what doesn't work, how better to say lines, how better to write lines. So many moving parts, and it's definitely something you just got to keep jabbing at it, keep working at it, and eventually you'll come to some conclusions that you will feel are satisfactory.
Okay, very good. Now, if you were invited to be involved in BBC Doctor Who, either the television series, the audio series, in any capacity, such as a producer, a writer, or an actor, would you say yes?
I would be happy to, if they've deemed me worthy of working on something, then I would be more than happy to contribute my efforts to it. With the sole exception of I don't really fancy taking on the role of the Doctor in the TV series. I am not a professional actor, and I would flop hard. I would break under all the pressure.
Well, I would say that you're somewhat professional as the Purple Doctor.
I do my best.
I got really into it, and that was the Doctor when I was watching it.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay,
but no, I just know that I don't think I'm capable of doing it at that role. So
right.
I mean, obviously, not that I'd ever be offered it anyway, because I'm not not going to audition or anything like that. But you know, I feel like I would be happy to do like anything behind the camera.
Okay.
And if they want to use my acting capabilities, I'd love to do it. It's just like, but the thing is, these questions are always just like nice little thought experiments, because I take nothing for granted. I don't think that's ever going to happen. If it happens, that'll be a total bloody surprise. But nah, it's just nice to dream. And I just love the show, and I'm just happy to support it in any way I can outside of it.
Okay, very good. Now, what are you working on currently?
I am currently working on I cannot go into detail, but I'm working as an assistant producer on the Fugitive Doctor Adventures with the wonderful Joe Martin.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, that is awesome. Okay, we'll just leave that at that. That
yeah,
is
yeah,
that okay, that is absolutely awesome.
absolutely.
Um,
I am sworn to secrecy.
wow, okay, that is awesome. I mean, after we're finished, let me know if I need to remove that from this,
Oh no,
okay?
no, no. That's already
It's
been
okay?
announced.
Okay.
That's been announced, so it's all
It
good.
okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. Are you excited about the new RTD2 era? I guess some fans have coined Russell T Davies as RTD2, and of course we have the upcoming new Doctor as performed by Shuti Gatwa.
Mm, yes, I am so excited to see what Russell's going to bring back to the show, and I'm so excited to see what Shooty is going to do for the role. I think it's going to be so fresh, new, interesting. He's going to bring a whole new spark to it. I mean, he's the first black lead actor of the show, and that's going to lend a whole new dynamic, just like uh, Avery Brooks when he brought on a whole new energy to the Star Trek universe when he took him out of Deep Space Nine.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be I can't wait. I really can't wait. I'm looking forward to
Okay,
David coming back,
right.
but
Right.
Shooty, can't wait.
Okay. All right. So, well put. And where can you be found online these days? Obviously on YouTube. We're going to put a couple of links
Mm,
down here on this YouTube video.
yeah.
So you're on YouTube. I believe you're on Instagram also.
Yep.
Yeah.
YouTube is Who Chaser. Instagram is Dominus of Time. My Twitter handle is Dominic JGM, and my TikTok is the same, Dominic JGM.
Okay. We'll put links to all four of those down there. What does the G stand for?
So that's my mother's maiden name, Greenwood.
Okay. Okay. Very good. I was thinking maybe it's Greg. So,
Not quite.
so yeah. Okay.
My
So yeah, Twitter is where I ran into you and
mm,
sent you a message saying, hey, can I interview you? And again, thank you
yeah.
for saying
No
yes. So
worries. It's been an absolute
when,
pleasure.
yeah, when you said yes, I didn't have to deal with rejection that day.
Exactly. I like
Okay.
saying yes. It's nice.
So, do you have a favorite charity?
Indeed, I do. That'd be Willen Hospice. They care for terminally ill patients, and they've been suffering from obviously any terminal illness that they're going through, and they do such a spectacular job. They really cared for my mum in the last months of her life, and they did such an exemplary job. They really like made her feel comfortable. They really made her feel like she was part of a family, and they really helped her feel loved in the last period of time that she had left on this earth. And they were massive support to my family and everything about that. They do such sterling hard work, such caring work. They are such wonderful, selfless people who work there, and they are just yeah, they are truly wonderful, and they are my favorite for sure.
Okay, very good. Now I had asked you earlier how it felt to see and hear your first audio that was released by Big Finish,
Mhm.
and something has occurred to me in that when someone becomes involved in Doctor Who, especially as a writer,
Mhm.
their name is not just down in Doctor Who history. Their name is actually part of British cultural history forever. So my final question to you today is, how do you feel about having your name and your talents down in Doctor Who history forever, and arguably British cultural history?
Well, as long as I've done it proud, then that's
Okay.
all I can ask for. That's all.
Okay.
I take nothing for granted, and I just hope I've done a good job worthy of the name. That's all I can ever hope for.
Okay. Awesome, Dominic. Thank you so much. Was there anything else that I didn't ask that you wish I had?
No, it's
No?
all
Okay.
good. Everything's
Okay,
all good.
awesome. Okay, awesome. Dominic, thank you so much for your time. This has been very
Not a problem.
enjoyable, very interesting, and educational. So
Likewise.
I
It's a
hope to run into
pleasure.
you somewhere. Maybe if you
Absolutely.
come to another convention in the States, I may try to go over there to
Yeah.
that.
No, I
Uh,
absolutely want to try and come back over to the US again. I had a great time, and I want to explore more. Absolutely.
okay. How many times have you been here to the States?
Well, I've been over the course of my life twice. So
Okay.
first time Pennsylvania, second time uh Pennsylvania with a brief stopover in New York, and second time was the Gallifrey one.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much again, and it was absolutely awesome to meet you. It's surreal to actually see you on my screen after I've seen you on my screen as an entertainer, and something I very much enjoyed.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It means a lot.
Okay, thank you kindly. And have a nice evening. Cheers from
Yes.
California.
You too, and goodbye from the UK.
Okay.